And welcome to Art of Online Marketing live show. Today we're going to be busting some social media marketing myths. So my name is Denise Allison, and I help entrepreneurs create social media content consistently and help them get confident in the content that they are creating. All right, so I meet people all the time, obviously, and when I tell them what I do, they always have some type of comment. So some of them say some supportive things like, "Oh, that's great. I need help with my social media," or "That's great. I have a great social media person in house," and things like that. But sometimes some people will say things like, "Oh, I don't do social media marketing because," and then they come up with all kinds of excuses related to that. So what we do is we are some of those myths. So before we get started, let me know in the comments what type of interesting excuses, falsehoods, myths, or limiting beliefs that you have heard from people for reasons why they don't do social media. So it's looking like I'm a little bit choppy, so just bear with me for a second while I check that, because I've been having a lot of tech difficulties lately when it comes to doing my live. So let me just check on this. Yep, definitely jumpy. Well, hopefully it stops doing that and looks good for the rest of the time. All right, now. Okay, so let's get into today's content. But before we do that, I do want to remind you that I have a free online training coming up tomorrow, and that's called Make Friends, Not Followers, Attract Your Dream Customers with Social Media. So I'll be putting the link below, and you can go and sign up for that if you haven't already and see all the details. And that will be taking place at 1 p.m. Atlantic. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely join me. All right. So reason number one that I hear why people don't like social media or do social media marketing is that it's fake and I don't make any real connections. So social media, it really gets a bad rap for, being fake, users only showing the highlight reel, like all the great things that are happening in their life and none of the real things that are happening, which makes us human, and leading to all kinds of struggles like feelings of isolation, envy, jealousy, and even anxiety and depression. Now, I get that. I can totally see how that happens. And I'm not saying that these things aren't real, but a lot of these issues really depend on how you are using social media. If all you're doing is, you're like sitting back and watching the world unfold in front of you, of course you're going to feel left out because you're at home looking at social media and you're not out and about doing things. So definitely there's a little bit of ownership that needs to be taken here in terms of how social media works for you. So that's the one thing. But social media generally just gives us an amazing opportunity to connect with other people. So we can connect with existing friends, old friends that we've had forever since high school or elementary school and know what they're up to. We can connect with people that we've just met and get to know them more. And we get to see what they're up to, what some of their likes are, what they're up to now. So if they're training for a half marathon, or maybe they're in a theater play, these are all things that I do, but I'm sure you all do exciting things as well. But you can kind of see what they're up to without needing to check in with them every single day, which is something that we don't generally have time for. So it can be a great place to learn more about them. It also is where things, messaging platforms like Messenger in Facebook, WhatsApp, and all the messaging abilities that are unique to every platform, they really give you the opportunity to chat with people that you might not otherwise get to do because they might be on the other side of the country, they might be on the other side of the planet, you might not necessarily call them, and texting out of country can get to be expensive. So you can learn more about them that way and have kind of one-on-one conversations with people anywhere in the world. It's also an amazing way to broaden your network and meet more awesome people that you probably otherwise never would have met. So for example, I have tons of amazing Facebook friends and people that we follow one another on Instagram. And those really happen through, groups online, friends of friends, following similar hashtags or location tagging, and some kind of way that we connect with each other. And by continuously being connected on social media and seeing our updates, we're able to build relationships that just wouldn't happen without social media. Like they just wouldn't exist. We would never cross paths. And there are definitely some people that I know that I never would have met without social media, or never would have been as close with, because that's where the relationship began. So it can be great for that as well. So like I said, you really do get what you put into social media. And if you make real connections a focus of your time there, and another thing that you don't spend like 100% of your time of the waking hours on social media, then you're going to have the opportunity to build real relationships. And what's more is that business is built on relationships. We've talked about this many, many times on the show. So often what you're getting in the process is you're also growing your business. So for example, your new friend in Australia might have a client who needs exactly what it is that you offer. And now that you've built this relationship, they feel comfortable referring you to their client. So that is just one example of how social media leads to more connections, and more connections generally leads to growing your business if you're doing it in a genuine way. Okay, I don't know if you can hear that cat, but I forgot to put her in the bathroom and now she's crying to go in the bathroom. All right, so I have a comment here, and that is, love social media for the fat connections, yet slightly overwhelmed by the many things we're supposed to do. Definitely, I definitely understand that, because it always feels like we're supposed to be on Facebook, and we're supposed to be on Instagram, and we're supposed to be on LinkedIn, and we're supposed to be on Twitter, and we're supposed to be on Pinterest, and we're supposed to be on Reddit, and the list kind of goes on and on. But really, it's about focusing on just a few things that you know that you can do really well, just using a couple of platforms and just really going for it, and not trying to do all of the things and be all things to all people. Now, myth number 2 is, I tried social media marketing and it didn't work. No, social media is a long game. And what I like to tell people when they say this is, I went to the gym twice and I don't have abs. And so clearly the gym doesn't work. So social media, along with gym and exercise, is not something that you can just try for a month or 2 months or even 6 months and then throw in the towel and say that it didn't work. Like if you've tried social media marketing and you weren't successful in growing your visibility or attracting new clients, there's generally one of 2 things happening. And the first is your strategy. Did you have a social media marketing strategy? Which seems kind of like a weird thing to say, but most people that I run into don't have a social media marketing strategy. They're just winging it. They're posting things. It's random. They're not being consistent, and they're not really creating a strategy to get the best use out of their time spent creating content. So just the activity of posting something on social media isn't necessarily and probably never is going to attract you the clients that you are looking for. You need to be strategic. Most of the issues that entrepreneurs have when it comes to creating content that actually attracts the people they're trying to attract is they're being too generic. So it's just a post about something. They're not putting in their opinion, perspective, or their expertise. So they're being too generic. They're not being crystal clear on what it is they do and who they serve. Often people are too salesy. They're just going to take traditional marketing ideas and really just post that on social media, which isn't a great strategy with social media. Generally, your goal should be relationship building first and value giving first, and sales second to ask people to do something for you. Another thing, they're not consistent with posting. They'll post this week, they'll post 2 weeks from now, and there's all sorts of issues for why social media might not work for you, and that's really because you don't have a strategy that's meant to leverage your expertise and what you bring to the world. The second issue could be that you just haven't given it enough time. So like I said, social media is a long game, and the benefit of social media versus, just like calling a business that you think would be a great fit for you and being like, hey, I do social media marketing, or I do HR coaching, and I really would like to work with you, is that most people are not ready to buy from you at this point in time, even if they are a potential customer, an ideal customer. Just most of the people are not ready to buy, and it's something like 3% of businesses and entrepreneurs and people are ready to buy from you at this point in time. So time is an important element when it comes to social media marketing. So it gives your audience the opportunity to warm up to you if they are following you and engaging with your content. It helps them understand who you are and what you stand for, and it really lets them observe you while you are highlighting the problem that you help your clients solve, and it helps them kind of say, oh, I have that problem too, now that I've seen you talk about it many times on social media. And then they reach out to you, say, oh, I realize that I have this issue, and you seem like the best person to help me overcome that. So that's really it, building that relationship, but also helping them understand that this is a challenge that is common in their industry, and you are the perfect person to help them overcome that. So giving it enough time and making sure that you are posting things that are actually going to help move your business forward and aren't just like memes or cats or selfies of yourself with no context. Number 3 is, I don't feel like talking about myself all the time, therefore I don't do social media marketing. Now, I don't like talking about myself all the time. I know it's kind of in human nature to want to share about ourselves, but it can be a really uncomfortable feeling to just be bragging about ourselves all of the time. And if your social media content is just you talking about yourself and bragging about the things you do, you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry to say it, but you are. And definitely some people do this, and that's where that myth has come from. But through my experience and my observations, most of the time entrepreneurs have the opposite problem, where they're not talking about themselves enough. They are letting their business and the brand be the face of their business, and they're really hiding behind the scenes so that it's kind of like this, not a human running the business, which creates all sorts of other challenges, because people don't want to interact with businesses and brands. They want to interact with other humans. So hiding behind the business really is doing you no favors. So the purpose of social media marketing, like we said before, is to build relationships and the know, like, and trust factor that you need to bring someone from a cold lead into a loyal, over to being a loyal customer. So of course we need to share some of ourselves through all of that, because you can't trust a logo. A logo is not a person. You can't completely trust what is going on there, especially if you are a small business and your logo isn't internationally known, like Coca-Cola or Nike or Google or Apple or what have you. But you and your stories is not supposed to be all of your content. Like, yes, you want to infuse your personality, and the best way to help people relate to you is by sharing things about yourself, sharing stories, because people remember stories much more than they're going to remember facts and figures and ticks and tactics. They are really going to remember the story above some content just in isolation and without any context. So stories are a really great way of sharing of sharing value, sharing your expertise, and what have you. And you also want to be adding value. You want to be sharing your unique perspective. You want to be educating your audience in your area of expertise, and helping your clients understand your stories, how you've got here, and give yourself some legitimacy. And of course, the other key element of successful social media marketing and creating a successful social media presence is engaging with other people's content, which in that case, you're not necessarily going to hop on their post and start talking about yourself. But what you might do is say, oh yeah, me too, or I had a similar experience. So the way the world works is we relate to each other through our experiences and through things that we've experienced firsthand. So there does need to be a certain element in our social media of us sharing about ourselves, sharing our personalities, and sharing those stories. But you are not the social media. Like your social media isn't about you. It's about helping your audience and your clients overcome their challenges and really positioning your clients as the heroes in those stories. So it's, even though you are there, you are present, and you're sharing your stories and your experiences, your social media is not about you. It's about helping people overcome the challenge that you're an expert in helping them overcome. So this is how you relate to people, and this is how you help them learn more about you and become your loyal customers. All right, so that is number 3. So as a little recap here, so myth number 1 is there are no real connections. And number 2 was I tried it and it didn't work. Number 3 is I don't want to talk about myself the whole time. And these are all myths that we've just dispelled. So if you're just joining us live right now, definitely watch the replay to look at all of those. But generally what happens is people are just using these as excuses for why not to create social media content. And it might be that you're not sure what to say, you're not sure when to say it, or you're not sure how to create a strategy. So I would say step number 1 is really understanding what it is you're trying to accomplish with social media, and then creating a social media. So I'm just bracing for a second before I continue. All right, so creating a social media strategy that really helps you leverage your strengths and share your expertise so that you can attract the right customers for your business. All right, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Art of Online Marketing live show. Just a reminder that if you haven't signed up for Make Friends, Not Followers, Attract Your Dream Customers with Social Media, this is a free online training that is taking place tomorrow, June 12th at 1 p.m. Atlantic. And I will be putting the link below in the comments if you want some more information or if you want to sign up. So definitely head over there, and I will see you all again next week for another episode of the Art of Online Marketing live show. Have a great week.